Time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
the legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU
The
strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Good morning to each and every one of you out there. It's Global Morning on Global Television, and it's a time for us to kickstart on our flagship program when it comes to news and current affairs. And we'll be delving into some very trending topics when it comes to some current affairs issues. It's a beautiful Friday morning. We always call it as TGIF. I am Jubai Manson, and I am not doing it alone. My co-host Ramsin is here with me. Ramsin, how are you doing this morning?
I'm fine. Good morning.
Good morning. It's great to have you.
Thank you very much. You look sharp. You're looking Friday.
It's a Friday, and Friday is all about the native. I always tell people.
In fact, it's beautiful because there is something that comes with Friday. You know, the joy of weekend. Even though we don't have weekend as journalists, but then the joy of it's now weekend. I'm going to have 2 days off work and all of that. I think it's a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing, and you know there are lots of issues that are ongoing, from deportation of Nigerians, 400 Nigerians from the UAE, and of course tracking point of sale transactions, very important. And all of these issues combined, we will be looking at it in the course of the program on Global Morning. And let's quickly go on a very quick break. The program continues shortly. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
the legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU
The
strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is Global Television, and I'm here with Ramsey. Ramsey, we're just talking about how it's important, you know, Friday, and how it's important we look at this deportation story that has to do with Nigerians that arrived Abuja from the UAE. About 400 Nigerians have been deported from the United Arab Emirates and arrived in Nigeria. According to a report by the Nigerians, the deportees were received at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, by officials from the Office of the National Security Advisor in collaboration with the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons. Now, the National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, the National Emergency Management Agency, and other relevant stakeholders, 400 Nigerians, including 90 females and 310 males, have been deported from the United Arab Emirates back to Nigeria. And this particular story, it's very depleting concerning what has been happening with the UAE and Nigerians concerning visa and all of that. It's really, really sad. 400. A lot of people have actually established their lives when it comes to being in the UAE and all of that, Ramsey. This is really this is really pathetic that this has to happen at this crucial time where everybody, the Japa syndrome is ongoing, and then they are deporting people back. How? Oh my goodness.
Well, when I heard about this deportation, the first thing that came to my mind is, would these people really want to stay? Would they want to come back to Nigeria? Because at the end of the day, they may want to go to other places because looking at the situation of the country at this moment, Nigerians who are in are trying to japa. The japa syndrome is on the rise on a daily basis.
Yes, it is.
If you go to the passport office, visa office, and you see the number of people that go queue on a daily basis to wanting to get out of the country, you will be surprised. But this number is so much for me. Deportation. What's happening? What's the problem? And sometimes if you look at whatever the problem may be, it might not be the fault of the authorities in the United Arab Emirates.
Okay.
You remember what happened in the past when some youths took laws into their hands,
Very true.
embarking on some unlawful activities,
Criminal
court
activities.
criminal activities, and all of that. At that point, if you could remember very well, at that period, for the female, good, you can go. Then for the male, it's a no-no. Okay, they were not even given visa to the male at a certain age anyway. But if you are above 40, they will consider you. But from 30 down, they were not giving them visa. And you said something. A lot of Nigerians are the United Arab Emirates already settled.
Yes, they are. Some married.
Some married.
They have businesses.
Some businesses. I have a friend who have, I think he has houses there. So what he do is, when the rent is due, he go there, collect his rent, do whatever he wants to do, stay there for a while, and return back.
Oh, wow.
And he goes and comes. A lot of Nigerians have businesses there. You know, there was this relationship between Nigeria and the United Arab Emirates.
Yes, of course.
And their visa was one of the cheapest. Okay, their visa was one of the cheapest. You can just go, walk in anytime.
And come out. Easy access.
Easy access.
There was no stress.
You know, so they had a lot of Nigerians there. The relationship have been very good until recently, when these criminal activities and other things started
erupted.
coming out.
Exactly. And you know, looking at it, Ramsey, critically, no country would want their own country to be affected by criminalities, all these no law, no order, people coming in to corrupt their own society. So this benchmark of deporting Nigerians is just sad to see, because most of these Nigerians, like we heard, 90 females and 310 males.
I know. The males will be more.
Oh, of course, because source of livelihood, you know, hustle. You know, Nigerians, we're not lazy people. We can go, we go and we outstand wherever we find ourselves. But this has actually off-balanced a lot of individuals, people that have decided to settle in. You know, we were talking about this issue, and you said something about the UAE. You must, there's always a process of renewal of visa.
Yes.
It doesn't matter whether you're at the border or outside the shores of the UAE, but you must renew your visa to ensure that you go and you come. There's always a renewal. But for this is big. This is serious. A lot of people, I'm sure, they will be thinking about what they're going to do. But we will be talking more about this issue briefly. We have two guests that will be talking about, of course, the deportation of Nigerians by the UAE. And, of course, we're looking at tracking of POS transactions, which is very important. We've seen issues where some of these hackers, individuals, once a bank account or a WhatsApp group is being hacked and you transfer some money to a particular account of all of these online banking system. And the fastest thing they do is go to the nearby point of sale machine and they withdraw some of this money. It could be in bits. And you know, point of sale, they can give you for as high as 1 million naira, 500,000 naira. There is no particular minimum or maximum in which they give. It's all whatever you ask for, they give. So it's very important that we track these point of sale individuals behind. We cannot perform transactions with a faceless individual. It doesn't work that way. So we'll be looking at that in the course of Global Morning this beautiful Friday morning. And of course, the newspaper segment will be up next shortly. And our guests will do justice to some of these topics in which we have. Stick around, do not go anywhere. It's Global Morning on Global Television. Stay tuned.
Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
It's good to still have you right there on Global Morning this beautiful Friday. Well, we want to take you through the headlines, and of course, our guest is already seated, and we will be doing justice to some of the major headlines for the day. And our first point of call this morning will be the Vanguard newspaper. On the Vanguard newspaper this morning, we have some very wonderful headlines, and I'm going to be taking them while our guest will do justice to some of the major headlines. It's good to have you here this morning, sir. Good morning. Thank you for coming around. Despite the fuel scarcity, you know, a lot of people, because of the passion, people tend to make a lot of sacrifices to do certain things, and it's so good that you are here this morning. You're welcome, sir.
Good to have you.
All right, so let's quickly go through the headlines for today, beginning from the Vanguard newspaper. And above the nameplate, I have this one which says, federal government signs CTC practice direction to reduce cost of airline operations. That's on the Vanguard newspaper, and details read on page 8. Then still above the nameplate, 48 million Nigerians still practice open defecation. And this is coming from UNICEF. Open defecation, you know what that means. Then we were actually, Jumai and I were talking about the deportation of 400 Nigerians from the United Arab Emirates this morning. And on the Vanguard newspaper, on page 9, that headline is what we have right here. It says 400 deported Nigerians arrived Abuja from UAE. And now to the big story. The big story, the kicker says petrol price. NNPCL, Dangote in gritty horse trading. I take that again. The big story on the Vanguard newspaper says petrol price, that's the kicker. NNPCL, Dangote in gritty horse trading. There are some riders to that story, and I'm going to be taking the riders so that we can have a little understanding of what the big story is talking about. The first rider says, price negotiation meeting continues today for price negotiation. We will be guided by PIA accepting any price. This is coming from NNPC. Then the next rider says, if they fail to buy from us, we export. This is Dangote talking so hard right here. You know, Dangote he's gone so through so much, you know, from getting crude, then coming down to the rollout of fuel. Now it's pricing. And Dangote is saying now, was saying the kicker says, if they fail to buy from us, we export. Dangote is the one saying that. Then the next rider says, depot owners have petitioned President Tinubu over diesel price. Depot owners have petitioned President Tinubu over diesel price. Then I have this other headline which says scarcity. Hawkers sell cheaper than fuel stations. Investigation. Is that possible? Black marketers are selling lesser than filling station. I don't know how possible. I don't know who did that investigation. But then let me get to our guest as we talk about this petrol pricing. NNPCL and Dangote in gritty horse trading. You're quite aware of what's happening. The pricing thing, first of all, it was giving of crude to Dangote to refine. Afterwards, now we're told that there was going to be a rollout, petrol rollout, and Nigerians were very excited, saying, well, finally, Suko have returned. Now we are going to have enough fuel everywhere because Dangote is going to roll out fuel. But now it's the issue of pricing. And the riders that I took, you can hear what Dangote is saying. If they don't buy from me, I will export. then depot owners trying to petition the president, and so many things surrounding this petrol. But at the end of the day, the average Nigerians suffer it all. So looking at this situation now, what is your thoughts? What do you think about this whole scenario?
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's quite unfortunate that we are still at this stage of pricing and not pricing, and where to sell and not to sell, and where to buy and not to buy, and all of that. And it's unfortunate. I would have thought that even before Dangote rolled out his products, whatever misgiving or whatever thing that the NNPC, CL and all that, whatever they had as maybe part of their input into the operations of that Dangote thing would have been sorted out before the rollout. Getting to the middle of the road, and we are now beginning to talk as if we are just starting over again. It's not good enough. The federal government appears to be experimenting with too many things at a time, especially when it has to do with this petroleum sector. From the initial stage, I mean, by last week, what we heard, I mean, when Dangote rolled out, what we heard was Dangote was coming out, was rolling out, and of course, there was so much excitement in the land. A lot of people had a lot of expectations, and people were like, okay, now that Dangote is coming out, there'll be so much fuel. There'll be, at least, if you come out, you can buy. Nobody was talking of the price at that stage. Until government, the same day that Dangote rolled out, that was the same day government came up with a price change. And there was mixed feelings all over the place, because the excitement in Nigerians was just cut short like that, and then set in a whole lot of confusion. And first of all, we had a situation where NNPC outlets, the retail outlets, adjusted their price to read about I think 870 something naira or something, and then we just saw a situation where government again from some quarters started denying that there was no price change. Yeah, it was like that. It ran through that evening of the same day.
And, you know, the federal government under 24 hours came out to say, well, we don't know anything about the price change.
That's what I'm saying. So they said they don't know anything about the price change. But you see, we are talking of an entity like NNPC that has about, that is in charge of virtually everything about oil sector in this country. Don't forget that our own president is the petroleum minister. And for them to have come out to, I mean, the moment NNPC begin to adjust anything or begin to conduct themselves in certain manners, I, for one, would believe that they are acting out a script of the government. Definitely. Because, I mean, it is difficult for anybody to believe that there will be a price change, a price hike as it is now, and Mr. President was not well briefed. He must have given approval because he's the petroleum minister, and the buck stops on his table. Now, the rift, it does appear there's a rift between NNPC and Dangote.
Of course.
Why is it that rift? When Dangote rolled out, there was a wrong signal coming from NNPC. And what did they say? The first signal was that they are going to be the sole buyers from Dangote. In other words, every other person, retail outlets and the rest of them, should go and queue behind them to begin to buy. And of course, when you look at, we are talking about free market economy, right? If it's a free market economy, and you're now saying that the market forces should determine whatever, allow the other marketers to go in there, buy, probably negotiate, even if that is what it is. But we're having a situation where they said it was NNPC. Well, surprisingly, a few days ago, NNPC came to deny that and said, well, other marketers are free to go in and buy the product as it is. Now, where are we? Now, on my way to this studio this morning, you wouldn't believe the quantum of vehicles on the road queuing up for petrol. And we're talking of Abuja, the federal capital. Everywhere is locked up. Vehicles are not even on the road. I mean, you can't find taxis. People are just trekking.
One of the things that I've actually discovered is the fact that despite the hike in the price, Nigerians still queue to get this fuel. So to an extent, it's like Nigerians are even more concerned with the availability of this product.
Well, you know, we have a...
They don't care about the price, just the availability.
It's not as if they don't care. It's a situation of helplessness. It's not as if they don't care. Who don't care where he has to spend the little meager money he has? And how many people are still there with some money in their pockets? And then you're saying they don't care. They care. The thing is that I think God has a way it molded Nigerians. Such a form that our shock absorbing system is so fantastic that as it comes, you look at us and think we wouldn't take that, and before you know it, we're in it. And we begin to move ahead as if nothing happened.
All right. We begin to move ahead as if nothing happened. Someone said Nigerians have an internally built, is it a shock observer or retainer or something? They get used to situations on time. All right, let's get to the next paper. And our next point of call will be the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. And on the Daily Trust newspaper, we have this one which says APC state chairman worried over hardship. Okay, APC state chairman worried over hardship. What about the orders? I think it's so good that the APC chairmen are worried over the hardship because as it is, if you're not directly affected, someone related or associated, connected with you may be somehow affected. All right, so the next headlines. 400 deported Nigerians arrive Abuja airport from UAE. Then this one says this is going to, we're still going to have a discussion around this very issue much later. So just stay very close. Bandits kill 3 soldiers, others in Zamfara, adopt 4 at Katsina Hospital. That's so pathetic. That's so pathetic. Insecurity in the land everywhere. Then 30 die in Kaduna. Kanu Road crashes. That's so unfortunate. Then I also have this one which says Edo governorship. That's the kicker. PDP declined to sign peace accord. A lot of people were surprised over this in Edo State. PDP coming up with reasons and refusing to sign the peace accord. The peace accord, I could remember during the presidential election in 2023, it was being signed by the presidential candidates. But now in Edo State, PDP is refusing to sign it. We just finished talking about fuel. This one says fuel kills resurface in Abuja. Not just in Abuja. I don't know if the kills ever disappeared. It's been there. When you say, when the paper said it resurfaces, it means it disappeared at the point in time. It's been there. All right, let's get to the big story now. The big story is about Borno flood. The flooding has been so devastating. And this one in Borno State is so much, despite the fact that it's happening in other parts of the country. But then, the big story says, my wife, 5 kids still missing. This is coming from a survivor, someone who survived the flood, because we're made to understand that the flood flushed a lot of people away, you know, goods, belongings, so many things, up to the extent that wild animals are even out there prisoners escaping and all of that. Let's quickly look at some of the riders to the story while you add your voice to, our guest will add his voice to the conversation. This one says, I thought I died with 6 children. Oh my God. The second rider says, canoe operators collected 100,000 naira to rescue my sheep. Then this other one says, NGF visits affected areas, donate 100 million naira. Fintiri, 50 million naira. Then the last rider says, 259 dead, over 1 million affected in 29 states. This is coming from NEMA. I think one of the problems that we've had is the fact that these things keep happening and nothing is being done. You know, people wait for damage control until the damage is done before the control comes in. But then this is so devastating. People at large right now, people at large, you know, IDP camps being filled up, apart from people displaced by terrorists and bandits. Now it's flooding, a natural disaster that would have been curtailed. Let's quickly go on break. When we return, Global Morning will continue.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
There's still Global Morning on this beautiful Friday. And of course, we're looking at the pages of the newspaper before we went on that break. And my guests in the studio have been doing justice to the big stories I have with me right here. In fact, his analysis is making a lot of Nigerians know what is happening. And that's the reason Global Television take time to bring detailed analysis so that we can know what is actually happening around us. It's been Dr. Oke Ezugo. He's a retired assistant controller of immigration. Controller General of Immigration. And he's right here this morning. It's good to have you. And let's get back to the papers. In fact, we're talking about the flooding before we went on that break. The flood, not just in Borno State, but the one in Borno State is drawing a lot of attention because of the devastating nature of the flood. Families, in fact, some families were completely wiped out. Properties lost, you know, houses destroyed, prison broken, inmates escaped into the society without any form of rehabilitation. Then, wild animals also escaped. You know what that means. And Nigerians keep asking this question oftentimes when this situation occurs, because this is not the first time we are having this issue of flooding. And apart from Borno State, it happened in other places, like in Onitsha, where I know someone personally who is at the morgue right now. She was sleeping at night with the kids, and the flood came, and they were swept away by the flood. Before daybreak, the woman passed on. The 3 kids were found somewhere else when the husband returned from work in the morning. These things keep happening almost yearly, and there is still a repetition this time. What can we say is responsible for this end? How can this situation be curtailed?
It's just our normal approach to our problems, because I want to really commend the Nigerian Meteorological Services. Over time, I've tried to track them, their predictions, what they come up with. They tell you that it will rain heavily 3 days. Before you know it, it will be like that.
Meaning they
gave enough warning. Even before the collapse of the dam we are talking about now. Because the flooding in Borno is, they are alleging. So we are made to understand that a certain dam collapsed 10 kilometers from Maiduguri. That's what we are told. Now, but before then, like I said, it's always our attitude towards things. Every year we keep on having this kind of embarrassing situation. Right front and back. There was a time, at the time, you couldn't even access Lokoja from Abuja here, because the place was flooded and there
was no road that period. Yes. It was River Niger.
Yes, it was like that. And it's been coming up on and off every other year. What are we doing to ensure that we don't have this kind of embarrassing situation? Look at Maiduguri. I watched Maiduguri township, township, and I wept. This is Nigeria. You see people coming out from shanties, people coming out from areas that you wouldn't really believe that these are Nigerians and all of that. You can see hopelessness in many of the victims. And unfortunately, what the government was saying was we are giving them 10,000 naira to ameliorate what? 10,000 naira in present Nigeria to a family that has been dispossessed of everything they have, their property. Is it to feed or what? Or is it to transport them back to their homes or what? So some of these crash-ins we keep on doing in terms of when something happens, we come in and begin to talk about palliatives and all that. Why can't we go deep down and begin to address the root cause? It's very important. And for now, I want to encourage us to begin to take another look at some of our building arrangements and plans and all that. Because I was told that, I read where they said so many buildings collapsed. Of course, it has to do with the foundation, the structures of these buildings and the rest of them. So, and I want us to begin to accept the fact that climate change is here with us. In those days, it would have been unthinkable for us to be having flood situations in Zamfara, or Katsina, or Maiduguri, and some of these areas. You cannot longer say the same thing. It comes in torrents, and before we know it, it's already, affecting damages here and there. So it's not longer a situation of we don't have this kind of situation. You can as well dig a 1 inch hole or whatever, and then begin to feel that is good enough. No.
But there is another side to that story. Because when things like this happen all the time, a lot of people look at the government, okay? Now, don't you think that individuals, apart from the fact that they said this time it's a dam, all right, that overflooded, don't you think there have been times where Nigerians also contribute to this flooding? Because sometimes when there is no runway, when the runway is blocked, the blockages at the drainage, the runways can also contribute to, because I've seen a place before, I think in a marketplace where it was raining and people were coming with refuse, just dumping refuse in the water, and it was being flushed into the drainage.
Where are the supervisory authorities? We have government agents responsible for some of this. Somebody will sit down in the comfort of his office and as masquerading as sanitary inspectors, whatever they call themselves, or as you say, okay, let's say Minister of Health now, and you see a situation where refuse dumps, or rather, Minister of Environment, or even the government house itself. Because most of what we are talking about now, happen within the metropolis. Mm-hmm. And we're now talking of blockages. Are you suggesting that somebody was not aware, or that the government has not been seeing such a thing? Situations where waterways are blocked.
But they do this thing when it's raining, when nobody sees it, because you know what?
They can. But what I'm saying is that if for instance, you come out in the morning as a government official, and then you see a refuse dump in an appropriate place, by the time the people within that vicinity are punished, next time nobody will do it. And if they see another person coming to do it, they will go after that person. Okay. So what I'm saying is that it's not about blaming individuals. Some people are not even aware that you don't put such things there. Have you thought of a situation where people even build houses
on runways?
And by who gives the approval? Are you suggesting that somebody can erect a duplex, for instance, in a metropolis, and government authorities are not aware?
Well, I think that's.
And most cases when you go to them, you see them brandishing their.
But that's what leads to some of these demolitions that we hear about. Because when the government discovers
till you begin to demolish.
I think
why do you need to demolish when you could have preempted?
But sometimes they do these things without even letting the government know. And when they go for
our government supervisory role is very weak and inadequate. That's what I'm saying. They're not doing what they ought to do. If they close mark these things, people, if you go to the offices that are responsible for some of the things we are talking about, you see number of men and women loitering around doing nothing, absolutely nothing, just waiting for the mood to end so that they can take their salaries.
All right. Thank you, Doctor. But I think sometimes these things happen, and when actions are being taken, at the end of the day, you hear, okay, the government is not being considerate, and they are punishing us, they are doing this, because I heard when an instruction was given for some people to relocate a particular market, and what they were saying is the government was being hard on them. I think most of these things, when actions are being taken, and even though the government still keep taking actions, the people complain, and sometimes they do these things without even letting anyone know.
Let me just tell you something.
Okay.
Let us begin to learn to be proactive.
Okay.
That is what is important. We don't need to wait. This idea of fire brigade approach, whereby, okay, the other time I heard about 3-point-something billion naira going to Borno State. Assuming that 3-point-something billion naira that's now earmarked for Borno State was made available earlier and directed at this project we're talking about, we probably wouldn't be having this. And let me tell you, before a dam collapses, it's not a dead thing. It's not as if the dam will just wake up overnight and collapse.
All right. Okay, let's get to the next point of call, which is the Punch newspaper. It is still the newspaper headlines, the review coming to you from Global Television. It is still a Global Morning, and my guest, Doctor, is making justice to the headlines that we have for the day. And as a matter of fact, the Punch newspaper have these stories. Above the nameplate, I have this one still talking about NNPC. NNPC, Dangote crude sale, product buyback deal. All right. Then this one says Tinubu governors Obasanjo mourn as Owa Obokunu joined his ancestors. May his soul rest in peace. Then I still have this headline which says PDP governors lose as NWC hands Wike reverse control. I take that again. PDP governors lose as National Working Committee hands Wike reverse control. Details read on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. As it is, the issue in Rivers State between Fubara and Wike has been, and there was a time that the committee invited Wike for a hearing for anti-party activity. Then, at another point, Clark, an elder statesman in Rivers State, made a statement that, as it were, if Wike remains in PDP, then PDP will not make a headway. Then Wike, in return, made a statement, a profound statement to northern governors, northern PDP governors, saying any one of them who supports Fubara, the person's state will be on fire. And right here on this paper this morning, you heard what I just took, because the way it is, the NWC hands Wike reverse control, meaning nothing else can be done. So what's your thought about this situation before I take the other headlines?
I must be honest to you that the drama in Rivers State is no longer interesting. It's becoming one thing. Today, another story. Tomorrow, another story. A lot of oddities, right front and back, and all that. So, I'm sure very soon we'll lose track of the happenings in Port Harcourt and the rest of them, because it's no longer exciting. One thing I know is that maybe the National Working Committee of the PDP have their reasons for accepting to hand over the structure or whatever they have in Rivers State to the FCT minister, Chief Onyeson Wike, against the norms, because over the years, I happen to be a follower of some of these arrangements in some of these states, and I know that in all the states, you can name any, the sitting governor is always the leader of the party in the state. So probably they have other reasons which they have not told anybody and which we are not privy to, why they think Wike should be in charge, Chief Wike should be in charge. But I am sure that PDP in Rivers State is on a keg of gunpowder.
Oh, okay. Let me still say something about PDP before we go on break. We'll go on break because the AM News will be coming shortly. But then, the big story on the Punch newspaper is talking about Edo governorship poll, where opposition fears violence as PDP shuns peace accord. The governorship election in Edo State is looking more like a presidential election, looking at the turn, everything happening from there. PDP have refused to sign the peace accord. What does that tell you?
Well, everything that, anything we see in Edo election, I'm sure will be an experiment, a rehearsal of what we're going to see in 2027. Yes, because most of the parties, nobody wants to give way. Nobody wants to take anything for chance, for granted. I'm only worried about the alarm raised by the governor of the state, Chief Obaseki. He was alleging, I mean, I cannot definitely with certainty say that's right or something, but he was alleging that a classmate of the FCT minister is the police commissioner of the state, and that another close associate of the FCT minister is the rec of the state. I don't know how true that is, but if they are alleging as much, I think that like every other place, the outcome of whatever changes the INEC or police decide to make will probably not even affect the outcome of the election. But I'm thinking that they should allay the fears of some of these opposition parties, or some of the parties in the election. They should try and see how they can allay their fears. The other one is the aspect of not signing the peace accord and all of that. The PDP in the state said that some of their personnel, some of the politicians that subscribe to their party, that most of them have been picked up and then have been arraigned in Abuja for whatever reason. I don't know whether that is true. But if it is true, if they committed some offenses, the courts in the state could still have taken care of such matters. My prayer is that federal government should, as much as possible, try and see ways and means of streamlining some of these agitations, some of these fears, so that we can have a semblance of a free and fair election in Edo State.
Free and fair, a resemblance of a free and fair election in Edo State. All right, thank you very much, Doc. We are going on a quick break. After this break, we'll return, and of course, the discussion segment will be coming.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to AM News on Global Television. Coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Jumai Manson. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and free to air on Nicomsat. Now the news in full. President Bola Tinubu has met with King Charles III at Buckingham Palace for the private meeting, highlighting the enduring and cherished relationship between Nigeria and the United Kingdom. This is the first meeting of the two leaders since they met in Dubai at the COP28 Climate Summit last year. Both leaders discussed global and regional matters of shared priority, focusing on the urgent and complex challenge of climate change. President Tinubu reiterated Nigerians' firm commitment to addressing climate change in a manner that aligns with the country's energy security objectives. The people of Ukom community of Esan West local government area of Edo State say they have unanimously decided to vote the All Progressive Congress APC governorship candidate Monday Akpeholo. After the command's immediate renovation of deteriorated secondary school structure barely 24 hours after making the pledge. Here is Global Television's political correspondent Anthony Momadou's report.
The peaceful scenery of the Ukmon community leaves no doubt the happy mood of the people who say Senator Monday Okpeholo is their earthly savior for helping them recover their fallen secondary school after years of neglect by the PDP government and dishonest politicians. These community leaders say it was like magic the pace at which repair work started in the school and which has sealed the resolve of the people to unanimously vote him into power.
Right now, what you go do for us, we go support you. Come see something, maybe we show you something. He come follow us, waka reach here. When he reach here, the gentleman, now that day I just know say, na real man of God. When he just reach here, he shocked. He say, hey, now people begin they go this school. He said, no. Now so he just they make call. Say, we just surprised the following day. People come, they remove roof. They bring wood. They bring many things. Then they come tell me for house. Say, see, you. Now rush come. I come say, which kind? I be na Ghana. They bring this man come. I be this one a Nigeria man.
I make people to go away from the school. For that time, the school was almost empty. The students, the parents here took their children away to the city, to Ekpoma, to different area. There was no student. The principal and the teachers were complaining. The few teachers we have, even the teachers, most of them work their transfer away because there were no students, and the buildings were down. The PDP that have been here for over 20-something years, they always promise heaven and earth, but at the end of the day, after collecting their vote, you will not see them until the next campaign time.
Some parents and party ward leaders also narrated their ordeal and now their anxiety to return to the school earnestly. Meanwhile, some residents of the community expressed their appreciation and pleaded with the APC candidate to do more once he is elected as governor unfailingly at the polls.
The work, we like him well, and we still need more.
This project started before he even planned to be a governorship aspirant. So this is not what he will even do for us. This is a project that he just said he will do willingly. as part of his this thing. That is it. Not because he's contesting.
The tour of the now republished secondary school nearing completion shows previous absence of source of water and electricity, but now having those provisions as these youths promise a total victory at the polls for Senator Monday Okpeholo come September 21st for bringing renewed hope to their lives and the community.
Because at this secondary school I know. When I go to secondary school, it will be like this. I know the kinds of I pass through before for me to go to secondary school. Because you can say, stand up at my village school, or wherever I don't good with them, that means a small thing. I can't remember. Like, if they finish this one, I believe they will still help us do that one. How would they do the thing self go on? They say, now, Pakomisa. I say, Pakomisa. I say, yes, who be Pakomisa? So then they go for government. Like, which party say APC? APC, now they do our school with the education. If you not go school, you not get what you want to go know. As we get this one now, we have hope that even more things are still coming. So only this one said don't proceed, that man don't win now.
This was how one of the classrooms looked like before Senator Monday Okpeholo did transform the fortunes of this very dilapidated school buildings. And this goes to show that when there's commitment and good governance, the people of Nigeria, especially those at the rural areas, will get the very best of governance. This is Anthony Momodu reporting for Global Television.
Thank you, Anthony, for that report. In the meantime, the Eliem community in Esan, Central Local Government area of Edo State, said it has been in darkness for decades, despite being under the People's Democratic Party, with a series of failed promises of provision of electricity until recently, when the fate smiled on them with the timely intervention of Senator Monday Okpeholo of the All Progressive Congress, who under his pet project of Operation Light Up Esan Central provided solar light to the community, a development that gas reawakened the socio-economic lives of people. Anthony Momodu tells us more.
The people of Ile, who have now resolved to show their immeasurable appreciation for the speedy provision of solar light, the APC governorship candidate, Senator Monday Okpeholo, by voting in the APC governorship candidate come September 21st, 2024, say it's no-brainer that the serving senator is the man for the job. This elderly ex-military man leads the pouring of praise for the APC governorship candidate, Senator Monday Okpeholo, for the provision of light.
This is what we have been expecting for the past years, which we never saw. Whatever started good will also end good. As he's proposing to be the number one in Edo State, we are all supporting him to be there.
We have been in darkness for years. One day I wanted to come outside. I saw a wana everywhere. Wana to that side, to the other side. What is this? They said it's a street light. Who brought it? It's what I wanted to know that time. And later I come to know that it's Mr. our Governor Monday Okpeholo that brought the street light. That we are no more in darkness but in light. We are just like people in London. I don't say I'm not going to London again. I will reside at Ile. Ile is just London.
Other excited youth and party stakeholders also expressed their love and support for the All Progressive Congress in order to win their upcoming Guba polls, as others basked in the euphoria of the provision of light.
I passed through the street of Ile. I saw light. I was wondering, what kind of light is this? This is just like Lagos, London, America. So can Ile turn to this town? I was wondering. So we are actually experiencing a great light in Ile.
No one can ever imagine at this time, this community is so bright, this hour, So we are very happy about this street fest. It's already our governor, because we are going to put our hand out with our voter's card. Even anyone who is not voting for his sake, we must come out to make sure he will win this election by voting for him.
Street light is very, very nice. Because the street light, sometimes we don't even need bikes. We don't even need light on the bike. Street light is helping us. The street light is one of the best things we ever have in Ile. The governor in waiting is one of the best person we ever have in Ile.
Being carried out by the APC governorship candidate in the person of Senator Monday Okpebholo to light up the Esan Kingdom. And this is a testament to what he's doing for the people of Edo State, and the people of LA are truly very grateful for this light and power that has come to them after 30 plus years of total darkness in their community. They say with this light, they are able to come out and do their business and interact with other members of the society, and also it has increased the safety and security of this community in Esan land. This is a testament to why the people of this community have decided that they would vote the APC candidate in the person of Senator Monday Okpebholo, who is running for the top job in Edo State. This is Anthony Momodu reporting for Global Television News.
Chairman of the Fiscal Responsibility Commission, Victor Murako, says there is need for states across the country to implement the Commission's law to promote financial accountability and support federal government's effort at strengthening the economy. Amarachi Ibe has more.
Participants from across Southeast in their numbers gathered to participate in a retreat organized by Fiscal Responsibility Commission in Owerri, Imo State capital, with the theme Fostering Fiscal Accountability, Subnational and Civil Society Collaboration. The Commission's chairman, Victor Murako, stated that the retreat is aimed at promoting good governance and establishing a fiscal responsibility regime in Nigeria.
It's very important to know that our economy is passing through a dire stress. For some time, it's not a hidden fact that it has not been good for our national economy. There is no different economy from the national economy.
Murako also used the opportunity to ask state governors in eastern Nigeria to adopt fiscal responsibility reforms and other related initiatives.
I'm calling on Their Excellencies, the governors, that is in the interest of the Southeast, is in the interest of the Bekanye, Ndibo. It's in the interest of our economy, the economy of the Southeastern states, that they adopt this reform, not only the fiscal responsibility law, audit laws, budget laws, there are other progressive laws, reforms.
At the end of the retreat, Fatima Abubakar, Assistant Director of Fiscal Responsibility Commission, read the communique.
Participants unanimously agreed on the need to amend the Fiscal Responsibility Act 2007 to include sanctions in the enforcement of the Act. Citizens should take full advantage of Section 51 of the Act and ask pertinent questions, including seeking remedies in the court of law in enforcing the provisions of the FRA. The provisions of the FRA 2007 and the Freedom of Information Act FOI 2011 should be diligently studied by the citizens and CSOs to make it fully operational.
Fiscal responsibility and accountability are not just at the federal level, but states are also encouraged to implement the laws where they do not already exist. Amarachi Ibe, Global TV News, Owerri.
Several state chairmen of the ruling All Progressive Congress arrived in Abuja for the meeting of the National Executive Committee, only to meet a near-empty party secretariat. They, however, told journalists that they are planning a separate meeting with party leaders and the federal government on the current hardship occasioned by the removal of subsidy. There was no sign of the national chairman, Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje, nor there was any member of the National Working Committee on hand to receive them. Aviation Workers Union have conducted plans to shut all airports across the country from September 18th. The strike notice was made known through a statement signed by the General Secretary of the National Union of Air Transport Employees, Ocheme Abba, and Deputy General Secretary of the Air Transport Services Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, Francis Akinjole. This is following the alleged refusal of the federal government to accede to their call for the reversal of the 50% deduction policy from the internally generated revenues of agencies in the aviation sector. Airstrikes from the air component of Operation World Punch have killed several terrorists who attacked other security agents in Shiroro local government area of Niger State. A statement by the Deputy Director of Public Relations and Information, Nigerian Air Force Group Captain Kabiru Ali, said the operative during the attack requested air support. The terrorists, over 100 in number, were said to have engaged operatives from other security agencies in fair gun battle. At least 414,000 people have been displaced and another 30 killed by the devastating flood in Maiduguri, Borno State capital. National Emergency Management Agency NEMA says the flood began after Alao Dam overflowed following heavy rains leading to what the United Nations Human Rights Refugee Council and Maiduguri Metropolitan Council residents call the town's worst flooding in 30 years. NEMA spokesman Manzo Ezekiel noted that the death toll had hit 30 and displaced persons close to 500,000. As primary and secondary schools set to resume for the first term academic activities across Anambra State on September 17th, the state government has vowed to sanction no fewer than 2,000 unaccredited schools operating in the state. The State Commissioner for Information, Paul Uwosu, in a press statement, said schools risk closure if the operators do not obtain the necessary approvals and accreditation. The Corps Marshal of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Shehu Mohammed, issued a warning to fleet operators, commercial drivers, and private vehicle owners, urging them to stop making night trips. Mohammed, in a statement signed by the Corps spokesperson Olusegun Ogunbamide, pointed to the increased dangers of night travel, which include poor visibility, driver fatigue, excessive speed, and the risk of falling asleep at the wheel. He described night trips as not only unsafe, but utterly dangerous. You're watching AM News on Global Television, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. When AM News returns, Israel Adesanya drops out of pound-for-pound rankings. Details of these and more after this break. Please stay with us. You're welcome back, and if you're just tuning in, this is Global Television, bringing you live broadcasts of AM News. Thank you for staying with us. On our business desk, petroleum marketers, refiners, and depot owners in Nigeria have called for the full deregulation of the downstream oil sector, seeking to end government price control due to subsidies. The Major Energies Marketers Association of Nigeria, in collaboration with DEPO, the Petroleum Products Marketers Association of Nigeria, Crude Oil Refiners Association of Nigeria, African Refiners and Distributors Association, and Petroleum Products Retail Outlet Owners Association of Nigeria disclosed during a webinar. The Central Bank of Nigeria has directed all payment service providers to route all transactions from point-of-sale terminals and merchant and agent locations, physically or electronic, through an approved CBN payment terminal service aggregator. It also issued a 30-day deadline requiring service providers to comply with enhanced routing guidelines for point-of-sale transactions. This move aims to strengthen the monitoring of electronic transactions across Nigeria and decentralized POS transactions routing, addressing concerns about the centralization of such transactions under a single entity. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has disclosed that 134 illegal refineries were destroyed in the past week. The NNPC also stated that 63 illegal pipeline connections were uncovered during the period. Over now to the Bank of Industry has donated relief materials to the National Emergency Management as part of its Corporate Social Responsibility Initiative. In a statement made available, the Managing Director of BOI, Olusopo Olusi, emphasized the bank's dedication, supporting vulnerable communities and promoting inclusiveness across Nigeria. Beneficiaries of the federal government student loan scheme across the country have lamented delaying the payment of the August monthly stipend. Some of the students, in separate interviews with our correspondent, expressed their disappointment in the payment delay. Report says that students can choose to apply for upkeep loan apart from institutional loans, which is paid directly to institutions. Now to the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Adun, says going forward, the federal government intends to deploy technology in prevention and treatment of cancer across the country. He stated this in Abuja at the MidServe Ecology Summit 2.0, where stakeholders gathered to chart a course for Nigerians' effort aimed at tackling the spread of cancer. Adun noted that technology is playing a key role not only in the financial sector, stating that the current efforts of government is to deploy technology to see how to cure cancer. On our foreign desk, the United Kingdom government has announced its intention to nominate Dakpo Akande, a professor of public international law at the University of Oxford, for election as a judge at International Court of Justice in 2026. This was disclosed by Joanna Ropo, the UK's ambassador to the Netherlands and representative to the ICJ, who confirmed that Akande's nomination would take place in 2026. Akande was previously elected to the United Nations International Law Commission in November 2021. The United Nations Agency for Palestinian Refugees says 6 of its employees have been killed in an Israeli airstrike on a school it runs in central Gaza. Gaza Hamas-run civil defense agency said 18 people were killed in a strike at Al-Jani School in Nasirat refugee camp, which is being used as a shelter for thousands of displaced Palestinians. Israel's minister said it carried out a precise strike on terrorists planning attacks from the school and that he had taken measures to avoid harm to civilians. Peru's former president Alberto Fujimori, who was convicted of human rights abuse and corruption, has died at age 86. His daughter has confirmed. Fujimori governed Peru between 1990 and 2000 before being forced from office and allegations of corruption. His tough stance against left-wing guerrilla insurgency, while president also brought allegations of human rights abuses, but his supporters praised him for defeating the rebels at a time when they looked likely to seize power. He fled the country but was subsequently arrested and extradited before being convicted and jailed. His daughter, Keiko Fujimori, posted on social media to say the former president had died after a long battle with cancer. A man from the Republic of Ireland had been found dead in a police cell in Portugal. Police in Portugal said the 29-year-old man had been detained on suspicions of assault in Alfabeira. The National Republican Guard, the Galmeira Force of Portugal, said he took his own life. He was found dead in his cell. A spokesperson said emergency services were called immediately, but he was declared dead at the scene. Over now to sports. Nigerian football fans have taken to social media urging the Nigerian Football Federation to retain Augustine Eguavoen as the head coach of the Super Eagles following the team's recent impressive performances in the 2025 African Cup of Nations qualifiers. The team secured a convincing 3-0 victory against Benin Republic in Uyo before being held goalless by Rwanda in Kigali. Ghana's Black Stars are likely to host their remaining 2025 African Cup of Nations home qualifiers in Nigeria, according to multiple reports in the West African country. This followed the Confederation of African Football's rejection of their home venue, the Baba Yara Stadium in Kumasi. CAF's inspection team had deemed the stadium unstable for competitive matches, flagging the major constructural concerns including poor drainage, uneven playing surfaces, and uneven grass cover. Nigeria international Rafael Oyedike is close to joining Turkish champions on a permanent deal, with reports that the player has agreed a 5-year deal with the Turkish Super League club. With less than a week before the close of the summer transfer window in Turkey, Galatasaray have been very active in the transfer market, having made some decent signings to enable them to defend the league title they won last season. Former UFC middleweight champion Israel Adesanya has dropped out of the UFC pound-for-pound rankings for the first time in 5 years. Following his recent submission loss to South African's Ducros du Plessis, the Nigerian-born fighter, who has long been a staple in the UFC's top 15, now faces an uncertain future as he contemplates his next move in the sport. Adesanya's exclusion from the ranking comes after he defeated du Plessis at UFC 305, where he was submitted in the 4th round of their highly anticipated middleweight title fight. The loss followed a year-long hiatus after Adesanya lost his belt to Sean Strickland in a shocking upset. That's it on AM News, and it came to you live from Nigerian's capital, Abuja. Remember, we are on DSTV channel 365, Star Times channel 276, and free to air. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms by using @Global TV NG and the handles I'm showing on your screen. I am Jumai Manson. Thank you for watching. Good morning. Global Morning continues shortly.
is good to still have you right there on Global Television. It is still the morning show, Global Morning, right on your screen. And of course, we'll still take a few of the headlines, then we get into the discussion for the day. My guest is still in the studio, Dr. Oke Ezugo, retired Assistant Controller General of Immigration. Thank you for staying with us, sir.
Good to have you.
Let's quickly go through some of the headlines before we get into the big story where we'll be talking about the deportation of Nigerians. But before then, our next point of call is the New Telegraph. On the New Telegraph this morning, I have the big story, which says many still trapped on rooftop, over 400,000 households displaced. This is coming from NEMA. We already talked about that. Then this one says, we are aware of suffering, says APC Chairman's Forum. We are aware of the suffering. What Nigerians are going through, we are aware of it. That's coming from APC Chairman's Forum. Then I also have this headline. This one is above the header, which says POS, that's the kicker. CBN gives PSPS 30 days to route deals via NIBSS UPSL. The issue of POS operators, you know, it came up one time, then it died, now it's up again, and more of this will be coming on your way much later. Let's move from the New Telegraph and go to the next paper that we have right here. The next paper will be the Nigerian Tribune. The Nigerian Tribune. The Nigerian Tribune, the big story says 259 killed, over 1 million affected by flood in 29 states. Okay, that's coming from NEMA. Then I have a writer to that story, which says UN Humanitarian Agency allocates $6 billion for Borno, Adamawa, and Yobe. Details read on page 2. This is so much money coming. I just pray this money is disbursed appropriately and it gets to the right persons that really needs to get it. More still coming from the Nigerian Tribune. This one says aviation workers to shut down airport September 18. All right. And the next one says NUT warns federal government against unchecked commercialization of education in Nigeria. Unchecked commercialization of education in Nigeria. This is the Nigerian Union of Teachers that is saying that. Then the next headline says the federal government signs a CTC agreement to reduce airline operating cost. Details read on page 24. Then the Southwest states arrive at plan of action to tackle food shortage. There is no doubt that there's food shortage in the country. Everyone, a lot of people are hungry. So it's so good that the Southwest states arrive at plan of action to tackle food shortage. Then finally, from the Nigerian Tribune, the kicker says, Edo, APC 16 others signed peace accord. Then just one writer to that story, and it says, PDP maintains stance, refuses to sign. Details read on page 5. And let me get to the next paper. Our guest will actually react to any of the headline that it's of interest to him when I'm done, so that we can go to the discussion, which I know a lot of you are waiting for. The next point of call is the Nigerian News Direct. And I'll be starting with the big story. The big story says Nigeria gets 589 billion naira as federal government. UK signed 8 agreements to boost education, governance, and others. Just 2 riders to that story. A 3-year human assistance program received 324 billion naira. Then the second writer to that story says, as new agreement signals strong Nigerian-UK ties with focus on humanitarian economic development. The details is on page 3 of the Nigerian News Direct. And the last one that I'll be taking from the Nigerian News Direct says federal government signs international convention to facilitate ease of doing business in aviation sector. I think this is going to step down a little bit for people who are actually interested in doing business in the aviation sector. The next point of call is the first news. The first news, I have the big story which says marketers complain diesel too cheap at 900 naira per liter. Dangote is the one saying this. Marketers complaining that our diesel is too cheap because we are selling at 900 naira per liter. What does this sound to you? Let me get to doctor this time, because some persons are saying it's high. Meaning the reason insight here to the reason why the price of petrol fuel, that is PMS, the petroleum, why the price is always on the rise. You can see marketers coming in now to tell Dangote that selling diesel at 900 naira is cheap. Meaning the reason why there is this controversy of pricing, the marketers may have something in connection with it. What's your thought about this?
The petroleum sector has become a hydra-headed monster. That I think it's only those of them who are in that sector, the players, that can tell us exactly what they are seeing there. Because obviously they know more than we know. Obviously they act and conduct themselves in ways that pleases them. So much is shrouded in murky waters within that sector. Anybody you see talking about pricing is just talking from the advantage of where he's coming from. Somebody is saying, I want to sell my product at this, and you say it's cheap. If it's cheap, don't buy. If it's cheap, don't buy. If it's high, don't buy. For crying out loud, Dangote has the right to sell his product in, we are talking about free market economy now. So he has a right to sell his product in whatever price pleases him. Why hoping that government is keeping tab of whatever is happening there to make sure that they don't engage in excesses. But unfortunately, like I've always said, our problem started from the subsidy thing. They say we're having subsidy. And the subsidy regime is thriving because of our engagement in importations of these products. Now we are saying we have a product here now, Dangote is producing. And somebody is telling you again that the price is giving it is cheap. So is it supposed to be high? I want to believe that Nigerians actually wanted to see a situation where they can get these products quickly, faster, and at a cheaper rate. And that's why there was a lot of goodwill from Nigerians in support of Dangote's venture and all of that. But the whole thing has, we are not seeing anything anymore. Yes, because it's a whole lot of confusion. Government appears to be talking from both sides of the mouth. NNPC, that is supposed to be the lead agency in the whole arrangement, is not coming clear. Nobody can quote NNPC to have said anything, because today an official will say something, tomorrow another one will say another thing. So I think my attitude to anything that has to do with the oil sector now, And as it has to do with Dangote is, let us watch and let us keep our fingers crossed and watch how the drama will play out. And maybe at the end of the day, they might come up to give us a definite answer or give us a definite position on what it ought to be. But as at now, I can tell you that every other thing is on the table.
Okay, thank you very much, Doctor. Let's quickly look at the Nation's newspaper, which is going to be the last before we get into the discussion segment. The big story here says governors rally support for devastated Borno flood victims. That's coming from the Nation's newspaper. Then just one rider to that story. Two riders, I beg your pardon. Water yet to recede. Then the second one says that 40% of farmland washed away. That's another problem. The reason why we're having food shortage is because of this water. Then this one says that Nigeria to get 589 billion naira impact on health others with Britain. Then the writer to that story says that Tinubu, King Charles met in London. The health sector is one sector that a lot of people look forward to. Nigeria to get 589 billion naira impact on health and others with Britain. Do you see it as a welcome development?
Well, on paper and at face value, okay. We are used to hearing all those falutin words, I mean, amounts of money, billions of dollars, millions of dollars, and all that. And at the end of the day, it will not come down to the level of an average person. So over time, we've had so much loans, grants, and all manner of aids from some donor agencies and the rest of them. We've gone ahead and recovered so much money and all of that. But how has that impacted on an average Nigerian? So I'm sure that when you are talking about this amount we are talking about now from Britain, it wouldn't mean much to an average person because it's been a recurrent thing. We've heard it over and over and over. And at the end of the day, it wouldn't transcend to anything. So we can only wish that those in charge of these affairs will have a human mind to begin to think of allowing the intentions, the reasons for some of these loans or some of these grants to go down to, begin to harvest whatever is the reason for it. Otherwise, if it is just at the level of government, before it gets down there, it's already gone. The other day I heard a situation where a minister was complaining that 500 billion naira, $500 million or so was supposed to be coming to the ministry for some projects like that. And then somebody was saying, for being a consultant, we're going to take 40% of this sum. Now, if you take 40% of the sum of $500 million, so how much is left? And then the same minister hinted about a provision where she may be entitled to maybe about a certain percentage too.
So that's more like a sharing formula.
That's what I'm saying. So it's not about what we're hearing. 500 million, $1 billion.
So you are more concerned about the implementation of what we are hearing.
If this minister did not raise this alarm, how would we have known that
all these things
are happening?
All right, thank you very much, Doctor. Let's go on a quick break. When we return, we'll talk about the deportation of Nigerians from the United Arab Emirates. As it is, from the headlines this morning, it was being made known that some Nigerians were deported from the United Arab Emirates. The relationship between the Nigerian government and the United Arab Emirates is not as sweet as it used to be. We've heard of so many complaints coming from the United Arab Emirates, looking at the behavior of some Nigerians, not all Nigerians, but some Nigerians in the United Arab Emirates. And this has resulted to the deportation of some Nigerians that arrived at Abuja already. This morning, we want to look at it, going into the discussion proper. And Dr. Oke Ezugo, retired Assistant Controller General of Immigration, is with me here, and he's going to be joining me on the conversation as we talk about it. Diplomatic role: 400 Nigerians arrive Abuja from the United Arab Emirates. 400 Nigerians arrived the country from United. Looking at the situation, looking at what is happening in Nigeria, and looking at the fact that a lot of Nigerians are looking for how to even travel out of the country, even though the president, on assuming office, if you could remember very well, he was saying people that left, especially doctors, should return back. And now 400 Nigerians arrive the country from the United Arab Emirates. What do you think may have caused the deportation of these Nigerians from the United Arab Emirates? Because the number is huge, 400 at once.
In clear terms, UAE has just told Nigerians, by their conduct, by their actions, by whatever they are doing there and doing to Nigerians, they have told us in clear terms, go home and develop your country. Go home and develop your country. Stop coming here to embarrass us. In any case, when you weigh the two countries on a scale in practical terms, but for the discipline and the level of development in UAE, of course UAE and Nigeria, you cannot, there's no basis for, I mean, when it has to do with, when you're talking about government business, and you know, the weight in international circles, the weight in diplomatic circles and the rest of them, you cannot, there's no way you can compare UAE to Nigeria. But here we are being embarrassed by this country, UAE, over time. This 400 we are talking about, in July we received another 190. The same, in less than how many months now? They came home.
Meaning, in other words, might still be expecting more.
Oh, sure. And these things are done with impunity. And sometimes I begin to even wonder, what are our diplomatic missions abroad doing? Are they not engaging enough to be able to, so that some of these governments will be able to get to them, to begin to talk to them before some of these embarrassing actions are taken? The last time when there was a visa ban on Nigerians and all that, there was a lot of, everybody was, it was like we cannot survive without UAE. And when eventually they took some phony steps, because I never considered those steps as real, as if they now want to restore the visa thing and all of that, they imposed a very heavy responsibility on Nigerians who wants to get there, in terms of amount of money you need to showcase and whatever. I think $10 million and all that. Hey, Nigeria who has $10 million, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
But
yes.
What is, do you think there's anything the government can do about this situation, or they should just sit down and watch this whole thing happen? Or do you feel the government will even be happy?
The truth is that whatever government has not done up till now, I'm not expecting anything better than what we've seen already. I can tell you that for free. Because it's not as if the situation started yesterday. It's a matter that has, I mean, it's on and off for months. And for inexplicable reasons, so much of this relationship between Nigeria and that country is still shrouded in secrecy. Nobody's coming out clear to tell us exactly what the disputes are. What are the disputes? Nobody is saying Nigerians who don't have documents should go there. Nobody is saying that Nigerians who don't, should go there and begin to misbehave or run foul of the law of that land and all that. If they do that, of course, in every other aspect, the state decides who stays with them. They decide who comes in, who goes, and all of that. But the essence of having a diplomatic mission in such countries is to ameliorate the distortions, the contradictions arising therefrom. Even anytime it wants to happen, government agencies, the embassy, the High Commission, as it were, sometimes will have to wade into it to make sure that it's not an orchestrated embarrassment like we're having now. Because that is the situation now. That country has embarrassed us enough.
Okay.
Is it not time for us to take another look at that relationship?
These Nigerians that are being deported, what do you think is the right of these Nigerians being deported? Because some persons may have legal rights to stay in that country. Because before you get into any country, there are some conditions that you may have met. Because these people that are being deported, some of them are not people that just got there. For you to be in a country for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, then you're facing deportation. Don't you think there might be an infringement at some levels? So do Nigerians who are facing this deportation have any right or anything to do?
Let me again let you know that the moment the news broke yesterday about the return of these Nigerians, I quickly ran through some mails and the rest of them, some papers and online. I wanted to know exactly what the reasons are. What were the reasons for the deportations? It's not a matter of seeing a black man on the street and just think he's a criminal. Or you just see somebody on the street and think because he's a Nigerian, therefore he has to go home. There has to be some decency in this. Like one of the deportees was alleging last night. He said he was just picked up on the street and nobody has told him his offense. So my take is, can Nigerian government, for God's sake, ask the UAE to punish this country and the global community on the reasons, one by one? What led to the deportation? Is it because they are Nigerians, or is it because they have committed any offense? Have they run foul of any law of that country? The idea of seeing anybody, picking anybody, and without explanation, the person is on his way home is uncalled for. And I'm expecting the Nigerian government to take a very strong action, strong position in respect to what is playing out.
But this is not the first time this thing is happening, like you make reference to those that were deported in July. Now it is repeating itself again. I didn't hear that the government did anything in July when these people were deported. But oftentimes, if this kind of thing happens, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and some other Nigerians don't normally keep quiet. But looking at it, connecting this thing to the family of the people deported, do you feel, what do you think of the family of those that have been deported? What would you think? Because, okay, someone saying they just picked him on the street and the next thing is probably straight to the airport. And the next place you see yourself is in Nigeria. They may not know if you have family there, or maybe someone that is depending on you, your livelihood being cut short and all of that. What would you have to say about that scenario? Because even if the federal government would want to step in, there are some things they should hold on to. So can we say there can be legal process to this whole thing?
Let me take your first question. And it has to do with what Nigerian government is doing, whether they did anything after the July thing and all of that. One thing I've noticed over time is that it doesn't look like many of our embassies and high commissions are engaging enough where they are. I think we are still living, some of them appear to be living in the past where diplomatic missions are tea party missions, You go there, dress well, do all the theatrics and act, diplomatically and all of that, take your tea, and it has gone beyond that because we're having a multiplicity of problems globally. And as these problems multiply, so also the responses, so also the engagements, so also the solutions will have to be tinkered with. So I'm thinking that our embassies and the officials should engage more to stem this. The another one is about the families and the way and manner they are picked up. Of course, like I explained earlier, you can be taken from wherever you are, at the airport or wherever, and you're in your home. Sometimes your wife and children wouldn't even know you're whereabouts, and before you know it, you are back home. The trauma is much. The disrespect to human dignity is very obvious there. And one should expect that beyond our diplomatic shuttles, whereby our officials and government shuttle all over the world in visiting countries and attending conferences and all of that. It is time for proper engagement. Reciprocity is there. That's reciprocity as a principle in international law and international politics.
Let me ask this question.
Yes.
Whatever the situation is that has been happening, is there nothing the United Arab Emirates can do to stop whatever the problem that is resulting to this deportation is? Because these things keep happening. Or is it that they are interested in just asking Nigerians to leave the United Arab Emirates? And some Nigerians believe that there are even Nigerians that have investment in the United Arab Emirates. Yet, these things keep happening.
Yes, let me tell you the workings of this travel thing. Is it possible for anybody to go to UAE without a visa? No. It's not possible. Who issues these visas? UAE officials. And maybe they are with their Nigerian local, some of the local staff. Now, before you check into any aircraft heading to any country, 99.9% of airlines want to be sure that your visa is valid, your documents are valid. It's not an all-common thing where you just come and say, hey, I want to go to Nigeria, and somebody will say, okay, that is the plane going there, as if you're loading a bus at Oshodi. No. So what I'm saying is, at the level that these visas were being issued, there must have been an application. One expects a background check from the UAE authorities about the person who is applying. And then when they give this visa, the person is coming in terms, because every visa has conditions attached to it, in terms. It is only at the point where these terms are not being met, or these conditions are not being met, or there's a derogation from these terms and conditions, then the idea of picking the person and throwing the person away. But what I'm saying is that government of UAE should come clear to begin to tell why, to inform us or tell the story why these people are being picked up and why they are being deported. The idea of collecting, men and women and children and deporting them without explanation, is it human for you to detain somebody, for instance, and he's not aware of why he's being detained? That is what I'm saying.
I think this is one of the aspects that I feel the federal government should come in. Now, the Nigerians that are being deported from this United Arab Emirates to Nigeria right now, what do you think may be the challenges they will face? Because, I don't know, some of them, as the case may be, may not even have anything to fall back to. Remember, the country is facing a lot of security challenges. crime everywhere that Nigerian government and individuals are trying to curtail. Then these people are being deported into this country. What do you think may be the challenges they will face?
Let me let you into, pre-travel incidents here and there. For instance, before a night, most of the people you are seeing, most of them must have sold their land. Some of them must have sold, their vehicles. Some of them must have resigned from wherever they were making a living here in Nigeria. Some of them who are traders, most of them sell off all their wares to be able to make this trip. And now you are throwing them back to the society. The first thing is we have just gotten a collection of public charge. People who definitely embarrass their immediate environment because they are coming hollow. They don't have anything. Most of them don't have homes anymore. And the ego of having traveled outside, they must have, I'm traveling to UAE, I'm leaving Nigeria for good and all of that. And friends must have even had some parties for them and all of that. And all of a sudden you're back home. So we're going to see a situation where so many of them might end up in Abuja here, in some of the camps, without even going home because of the shame of having to go home and confront the same people they have left behind. 2, we are already in a dire strait. Who is helping who? Who is helping who? The middle class is virtually wiped out entirely. Nobody is there to pick up any piece for anybody. So, part of the thing, I read it this morning, and I think that's a good one. Government will put them through some psychological massaging and all of that. Begin to give them hope again that they can survive. But it's always a temporary measures because as soon as they leave the government vicinity, they are their own. And it can be a sorry sight, honestly, I must say.
But the people who are in UAE right now, because I know 400 already deported, I know there will still be some Nigerians there.
Yeah.
What do you think? This deportation, don't you think it's in a way may have some impact on the image of the Nigerians who are currently residing in the United Arab Emirates?
Well, it's not only in UAE. we already have image problem in most of the countries. When there is good government in a country, most Nigerians don't really want to travel. Government don't even need to begin to hazard some measures of how to block Nigerians from traveling. There are steps that, if taken by government, just like in every other country, not just Nigeria, you see their citizens coming back home, and if you tell somebody to, and let me tell you the truth, Nigeria is a land of opportunities. I've said this several times. This is one country that, with your little money and you are ready to go through some stress to do some things, you can still survive. Think of a situation where somebody has 10 million naira, and then you want to invest that 10 million in traveling to a place where when you get there, you'll be feeding from feeding centers and church premises where donors come to feed refugees and asylum seekers and all of that. How many people want to pass through that kind of humiliating experience? And unfortunately, we're having a situation where even so many educated Nigerians, those who have cut their teeth in several fields and all of that, are in this mess. And they're over there. You understand? So what I'm trying to say is the government can just do what they can do by ensuring that hope is restored here. And as soon as we have that, there will be no problem. But again, like I said, every country, most countries have insulted Nigeria. We are getting insult from everywhere.
But this insult, this thing you're talking about, this insult, this whole situation, would it have any impact on the economy of the nation? Because I think our economy is in a state where a lot of people, all hands are on deck to revamp the economy. Will this situation impact the economy in any way, positive or negative?
Well, the best that could happen is when you talk of remittances coming from maybe Nigerians who travel out there. But you know again that in so many countries, by the time you finish paying some of the bills, there is virtually little left for you to even remit home. Two, much of the remittances come through unorthodox means. It's not as if they come through, circles where government can even pick some taxes and all of that. Three, we are talking of a situation where if it is not because of the value of the naira as it is now, how much is $1? I mean, $1,000. In the past, you have $1,000 over there in Europe, you have virtually nothing. I mean, in America, you have nothing.
This time, if you have $1,000,
it is so much money. So it is this arrangement, this present value of the naira that is triggering more of these movements. So that even when you are telling somebody, don't go, he thinks he has to go.
So you mean if naira appreciates right now, a lot of Nigerians will want to stay back?
Sure, it will. If he appreciates, but like I said, there is a problem with our monetary policy. I don't like talking about this, but let me just hint you here. Nobody in this country now is talking of building industries. Nobody in this country now is talking of factories or anything. Because when they do that, they will be at the mercy of maybe FCDA, this local government people, this tax that. FRS and all of that. Now, do you know what is in vogue now? Most Nigerians prefer to put their money in foreign currency, to put their investment in foreign currency. Just buy up the dollar and keep. Awaiting when it will appreciate. Finish.
Because they believe it will appreciate.
They believe it will appreciate, but there is a backlash coming from there, and this one affects our government officials. Unfortunately, even government officials, those who should be tinkering with our monetary policies, are also involved in this dollar craze thing. Now, let me ask you a question. Assuming you are a government official, and then you are privileged to have $1 million, and then you now keep it somewhere, and somebody is asking you to do some arithmetic so that dollar value will fall as against the naira. Does it look likely that you will honestly work to ensure that your investment goes down? Does it look likely?
Well, everyone, I believe everyone would want to make a profit in whatever they do. But then, the way the situation is at the moment, we've seen the government, sometimes try one or two things to make naira appreciate. I think it was last month also.
You are talking of the symptom. When you are treating symptom. You are treating the symptoms of our...
But naira has appreciated sometimes back, even though it keeps fluctuating.
That is what I'm saying. What I'm telling you about is very fundamental. Nigeria's currency has become a second-class legal tender in Nigeria. The foreign currencies have taken precedence. And it's not good for our system. I remember a time in this country where somebody had to go to jail because he was found with $500 at the airport on his way out of this country. Somebody went to jail in this country. So why are we subjugating our own currency and making it look like it's worthless and making it look like it's a second-class currency? This is the only country where, even in Abuja here, where you see people paying school fees in dollars.
All right, as we
hotels in dollars.
As we try to round up now, these people have been deported. Right now, like you said, some of them don't even have anything to fall back to. In your word, you say some of them returned hollow.
Yeah.
As it is right now, do you think there is anything that the government can do as a support system to these people that have been deported into the country?
How many people are they going to assist really in practical terms? Is it assistance on the pages of the newspapers or in real terms? Because when you look at it, we heard about UAE because we are having a sustained conflict. We've had a sustained conflict with that country. Are you getting me? That's why it is making news. But I can tell you for free that there are other countries that are still deporting Nigerians on a daily basis, unaccounted for.
But I don't think it's the number of people being deported from the United Arab Emirates is alarming. You know, when that large number of crowd arrives at the airport, it must catch the attention of the media. If it is one person who has committed a criminal offense in some other countries and been deported, it's a different thing altogether. But when you are deporting as much as 400 Nigerians, that's an issue. But now, let me ask this question. Do you think anything can be done, all right, to prevent further occurrence of this deportation?
That's why that's why I keep emphasizing on government, diplomatic engagements. Because the essence of having a diplomatic mission in a country is for you to represent the country effectively in engaging the local authorities, the government where you are serving, so that your country is not embarrassed. And for God's sake, let our diplomatic missions begin to appreciate the fact that the life of an average Nigerian matters. No matter the status of such a fellow, whether he's a child, even if he's a miscreant, as long as he's a Nigerian, his life should matter to our diplomatic nations. The moment they begin to do this, I think we'll have less of this. But I tell you that in most cases, Nigerians who seek attention of these our diplomats and the rest of them abroad, most cases they don't get any listening ear from anybody. And that is why, before you know it, they're already ready. Let me tell you, if you behave like an idiot on the street, somebody will call you an idiot. Are you getting what I'm saying? If you behave like a madman, somebody will say you're a madman. If you position yourself like a beggar, somebody will say that beggar. What I'm trying to tell you is that the way and manner our people are being treated abroad is a reflection of the way and manner our own officials treat our people abroad.
All right. Well, that's deep. But as it is right now, we're rounding up. Our time is up already, and the next conversation will be coming up. And before I finally let you go, what will be your advice? Because a lot of Nigerians, what they do, like you rightly say, is that they sell their belongings because they want to travel abroad. I know of a lady personally who sold her car because she wanted to go study abroad. And at the end of the day, she didn't scale through with her visa. She had to revert back to some other means. So what would be your advice in just a few words? What would be your advice to Nigerians who want to travel for whatever reason?
In the past, it was easy and convenient for anybody to wake up and say, I want to go to America, I want to go to Europe or whichever country. Irrespective of the kind of skill you have and all of that. Somebody will tell you, I want to hustle. I want to tell Nigerians that that idea of going to hustle is in the past. Things have changed. The dynamics of developments in so many countries have changed such that you cannot just come to a country just like that because you think you can afford the visa, then you come to that country and become a public charge. What are you going there to do? Do you have any skill? No country wants to welcome somebody who hasn't got any skill or something to offer. And that's why at the end of the day, you see them amassing up under bridges, under shanties, and the rest of them in so many countries are engaging in criminal activities. Because when they get there and they don't have anything to offer, they don't have any skill to give out there, they wouldn't have a way to survive.
All right, thank you, sir. It has been Dr. Oke Ezeogu, a retired Assistant Controller General of Immigration, who has been doing justice to the topic of 400 Nigerians deported from the United Arab Emirates to Nigeria. The next segment of discussion is coming up next, and my colleague, Jumei Nancy, will be handling that after the break. Don't go anywhere.
Nigeria has directed all payment service providers to route all transactions from POS terminals at merchant and agent locations, physical or electronic, to an approved CBN payment terminal service aggregator. It also issued a 30-day deadline requiring service providers to comply with enhanced routing guidelines for point-of-sale transactions. Now, this move aims to strengthen the monitoring of electronic transactions across Nigeria and decentralize POS transaction routing, addressing concerns about the centralization of such transactions under a single entity. Now, the Apex Bank, in a circular signed by Oladimeji Yisa Taiwo on behalf of CBN's Payment System Management Department on Thursday, stated that all POS transactions from merchant and agent locations must now be routed through any CBN license PTSA. Financial sector CBN now issues a new rule for POS operators. I am being joined by Charles Osemudiame Ojalputa, FCIB, Management Consultant, Chaso Business Consulting, a fellow Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. Good morning, Mr. Charles. Hello, Mr. Charles.
Yeah, good morning, please. Good morning, I'm here.
Good morning. I can barely hear you. You're not audible. Okay. I can't really hear you.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, good morning. Good morning, Mr. Charles. Thank you for being a part of Global Morning today.
Thank you very much.
And like I mentioned, we're looking at the financial sector. Now, CBN issues new rules for POS operators. In your own opinion, in your own view, I want to ask, why is it important to regulate point of sale transactions in Nigeria?
Yeah, hello. First and foremost, good morning, viewers. Good morning, listener globally. Yeah, like you rightly said, I'm Charles Osemudiame Ojalputa. I'm not CBN official, but whatever opinion I'm expressing is basically from the point of view of an expert and equally a practitioner. Just to let you know that I equally have a POS point of sales as well too, as a side also. So I'm talking from the two angles, as an expert and equally a practitioner. Yes, it's very important then CBN come up with these regulations, and as we all know, if there's any organization without regulation, it will become all commerce affairs, and the danger to the society will not be palatable. Yes, basically, number one is to ensure fairness, security, and transparency in consumer transactions. That is what CBN is trying to drive for such regulation coming on board. Thank you.
Okay, now let's look at this critically. Now, what could happen if point of sale machines are not properly registered or regulated when it comes to transactions?
Well, as we all know, the end user will be at the losing end. So it's detrimental if such regulation is not coming on board at this time. Number one, customers or consumers, they are bound to face fraud, hidden charges, and unfair business practices, which CBN, I guess, in their own regulations must have observed. So those are the dangers if it's not properly regulated, that we are bound to face fraud, hidden fees from both the practitioners and the practitioners, yes, and unfair business practices which are becoming unethical. Thank you.
How some point of sale machines are being used for criminal activities. For instance, yes, most of these hackers that go into people's WhatsApp and they ask for money, which are being sent to them through all these online bankings, and immediately they go to the point of sale machine and they withdraw these monies. Now, how can regulation protect consumers of these points of sales when it comes to irregularities, when it comes to transaction?
Well, that's the essence of CAC coming on board to ensure that all POS terminals operators are regulated by corporate affairs Commission. Though there have been a lot of agitation from quarters that CAC does not have the right to enforce such. Well, we are talking about financial regulation. From records 2023, over 26 point something billions were lost to this POS terminals operator. We classify them under fintech. They are classified basically under fintech. So to me, if the benefits for the regulation, number one, it will improve trust and increase trust from the customer's end, and equally reduce fraud and fair competition from both the practitioners and the operators of POS terminals. Thank you.
Reduce fraud, for instance. How does it reduce fraud in our society from your financial point of view?
Yes. Once there's money, well, in that case, there will be checks and balances. There will be checks and balances. Before transferring money to anybody, you know, the person's data has been taken, their BVN has been taken, so you can easily track transactions. That is by way of doing, you are reducing fraud in that aspect. You understand? Because prior to this time, anybody can just come up and want money and just open accounts with all these fintech banks. I don't want to start mentioning names. We classify them under fintechs. Anybody can start opening accounts opening with them. But as time goes on, regulations were put in place. You have to come up with your BVN, your utility bills, and the rest. So whoever make any transaction, you'll be able to trace where the money is coming from and to which end. So by so doing, Deep CBN has a way of checkmating and monitoring transaction on the platform of fintech operators. So that's how you can check fraud.
Look at the government's role in regulating point of sale. How do they come in, and how do they try to regulate point of sale machines, of course individual entities, when it comes to this particular transactions taking place?
Okay, for the government efforts coming in place, let me quickly make our viewers to understand that POS or fintech operators, they equally have an association. It's called Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents in Nigeria, AMBAN. They are like aggregator between the customers and interfacing with CBN as well for disputes resolution. So you have to equally bear that in mind. There's an association that are responsible. So the best advice I can give any POS operator, do everything money possible to belong to that association, because they are like aggregator between the consumer, POS operator, and CBN. So CBN coming to play a major role is by laying that standard. Number one, the limit you can do per day on your POS terminal. And equally brought about regulating the terminal operator by working in conjunction with CAC, Corporate Affairs Commission. That's why they are setting the deadline that every POS operator must ensure they are registered. We need to know who is operating this terminal operator, because sometimes our borders are very porous, never can tell who is coming into the economy and start operating POS terminals. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Charles, now what are the consequences of not regulating these POS machines? What do you think? What certain consequences surround it?
It's the consequences is enormous and it is inexhaustive. Economically, we'll be losing money daily because it's not being tracked. Security-wise, we are looking at a lot of foreign financing, terrorism financing, and the rest. So security-wise, there could be terrorism money coming into the system. And money laundry is another security challenge. It's another consequence if they are not regulated. So there could be an avenue for money launderers. Are you with me?
Yes,
so these are the essence. These are the essence why CBN are trying to forestall this. Because they are envisaging. Because as it is now, we have over 2 million POS terminals operators in Nigeria now. And if checks and balances is not put in place, it's becoming an all-commerce affairs. Somebody can just wake up one morning, approach any fintech, get a terminal, whereas they have a lot of hidden motive for it. Of recent, we'll be hearing so many people, the people that are falling prey into the kidnappers' den, that they equally have POS terminals. So how do we track them? If CBN and CSE is not coming together to monitor those terminals, because for every terminal there's an ID that can be traced to any money you transfer. So to me, the consequences is economic consequences, social consequences, and security consequences. These are the three sectors I'm going to place it, and equally financial loss to the economy as well. Thank you.
Let us talk a bit about the security consequences now. How does it affect the POS being transactions being monitored? I know we've talked about how let's just dive into security now. That's a major issue for me. I want you to please talk more, expatiate more on the security consequences.
All right, when you talk about the security consequences now, we are looking at a transaction. Money can be moved from any platform, with any financial platform all over the world, and it's dropped in phases in POS terminals. Are you with me now?
Yes, I am.
And if it is dropped in tranches in POS terminals, probably they have exceeded their limit today. They can't keep dropping it. Before you know it, it's an avenue for whoever is the third beneficiary, wherever it is, for terrorism financing. So that's why CBN must put a limit to what particular POS terminals can do per day. I know some is 200, some is 1 million, some is 5 million, but there should be a uniformity, because you are talking about terrorism financing now. Because many of these guys knows that they can't walk into any commercial bank and make a withdrawal on an account, because commercial bank would have flagged such an account that please arrest such person the moment they enter the banking hall. But for POS terminal, there's no security person to arrest you. But once there's a limit to which an individual can access at a particular time, then with that, the security apparatus can track the terminals, because every terminal is attachable to a location. That's the essence of this CSE ensuring compliance, that the moment you are registered, number one, they will get your address of your registration, and KYC must be done. I equally want to put that in place. CBN must look into KYC. It's not enough for anybody to walk up into any fintech and acquire terminals. As KYC being done, I can categorically tell you, no. So CBN must equally ensure that should be KYC reporting platform. That so and so person has been assigned and a terminal, and from the fintech operator, they have gone there to do KYC to be very sure that where they are deploying the terminals to is a noticeable address. Thank you.
Now, Mr. Charles Osamudiame, I know that you are part of the management consultant, Chaso Business Consulting, a fellow Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. Now, I am not taking sides, but don't you think, with all of these that are happening with point of sale machines and of course the individuals, the banking sector has a big role to play? Because when laundry happens, extortion happens from all of these, I'm giving an example now. Let's say a hacker, for instance, hacks into someone's account and withdraws part of the money and says, send this money to this particular account, and goes to the point of sale to withdraw. Isn't it the responsibility of the banking system to trace where these monies are being gotten from or taken from? That trace, don't you think you should start from the banking sector first before the point of sale individuals? Don't you think so? Who has a bigger role to play in all of this?
You are absolutely right, because CBN, they are the regulators of any financial transaction in the economy. Well, I don't want to delve so much into CBN operation, but I know as a financial person, there's what is called encryption standard, which I believe CBN must have in place. We call it encryption standard, where money is coming from and where money is going to. And I can assure you, a lot of success story has been recorded. We can maybe we need to equally be telling the regulators to start publishing the success story they are recording in tackling all this financial extortion on POS terminals. We know we've had calls that I don't want to start mentioning the name of security outfits that they stop people, they stop innocent Nigerians through POS terminals. Are you getting me now? At the end of the day, the intelligence units of those organizations were able to trace them to the particular POS terminals. Are you getting it now? So many of them have been arrested in the past. For you to know that there is alliance or regulatory interplay between CBN and security apparatus, that they were able to trace those security outfits that have been extorting innocent Nigerians. That is for you to know that regulatory authority, they are equally playing role, but they need to play more roles. We want to see them coming on board, coming on air, even on your studio. They should be advising the citizen. You know, we need a lot of educational advocacy, because many people are losing money very cheaply on this fintech or POS terminals. It's very important. We have to address that. Let me just chip it in. Something happened of recent to a friend of mine. He has to start alerting everyone of them. At times, let me tell you the way these scammers are going apart now. What they do, they will intentionally send, let's say, 10,000 naira into your account. My sister, they will now call you. Please, I mistakenly send money to your account. If by any chance you transfer that money back to them with their apparatus, before you know it, the money in your account will be wiped. So how do we protect that? Anybody that mistakenly send money to your account, please, I don't want to mention name, the fintech company, they should be the one that will call you. They will not tell you where you should send the money to, probably to their own transit account. It's not left from there, from the fintech to transfer back to wherever the money is coming from. So please, I have to educate Nigerians now. We shouldn't fall prey to them. That's the latest scam going on in town. Are you getting it now?
All right, Mr. Charles. Now, would you agree with me that technology has a big role to play in all of this? Do you think we've gotten to that point in Nigeria where technology will actually play a key role when it comes to point of sale transactions? Have we gotten to that point yet in Nigeria?
We are almost there. But like for every POS operator of fintech, they are thriving on technology. I hope you are aware. They are tagging on technology. The telecoms. The telecoms are the one that gave them the gateway. So you have to bear that in mind. So they are thriving on technology already. But we need to do more. Because the challenges we often experience is network failure. Oftentimes there could be network downtime. And when there's network downtime, the moment you send money, the other recipient might not receive it, but the money will hit the transit of those fintech organizations. Sometimes it could take days for the dispute to be resolved. So technology has a great role to play. Number one, CBN must have a tracking platform to work in conjunction with fintech organizations. They need to have a tracking platform. Once you have a tracking platform, we call it an unusual withdrawal or unusual deposit, just like financial system, where they have SCUMO, where they have IFRS regulatory. Once any unusual amount comes into your account, there will be red flag. Are you getting it now? Your bank will notify you. We saw unusual deposits in your account. You have to start explaining it yourself. So such should equally be put in place for fintech operators. CBN should have a tracking device to monitor unusual lodgements. It's very important. So technology has a big role to play. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Charles, now looking at this critically, do you think we have an accurate database when it comes to all of these things? We're still struggling with NIN, we're still struggling with our BVN when it comes to the banking sector. And it's so unfortunate that we cannot track when there is fraud that happens within the point of sale sector or the banking sector. We cannot trace it because our data system is very porous. Would you agree with me?
Absolutely, you are right. Well, the federal government is trying everything in their own power to ensure we have the accuracy of data. It's a big challenge in our society. It is a very big challenge. The only albatross or the only way out is for CBN to keep advocating. We need advocacy. And I equally advise, hope you remember when we were doing NIN, many of these things were outsourced. They were outsourced to companies. So they could call in experts, technology company or the fintech company that could be of help. So then because the body is overwhelming, because you are looking at almost 2 million terminals, and they are still counting. Because now, before we go further, we really need to appreciate the role of CBN and federal government. Because POS terminal, they've been able to create employment. Please, while we are trying to look at the regulatory aspect, let's look at employment aspect of it. I hope you are getting it now. They've been able to, be able to, as it is now. I know a few guys doing the POS terminals. They have a lot of POS terminals scattered all over the places. So we really need to appreciate
Mr. Charles, thank you so much for being a part of Global Morning. And of course, happy birthday to you. I know you turned 50. Happy birthday. Thank you so much, Mr. Charles Osemudia Me Ajeokuta, FCIB, of course, management consultant, Chaso Business Consulting, a fellow Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria. Thank you so much, and happy birthday again on the 50th birthday. Thank you for being a part of the program.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure.
All right, we're going to go on a very quick break. And when we return, we'll be wrapping up the program. My co-host and I, stay tuned. It's Global Morning on Global Television. Do not go anywhere. We draw the curtain on Global Morning this beautiful Friday, and thank you all so much for being a part of the program with us. And of course, my co-host, no other person than Ramsey Agbo, has been here driving the force when it comes to talking about the newspaper review and of course deportation. And I spoke about the point of sale transaction being monitored, which is very important. Key issues trending in Nigeria at the moment.
Very key. I heard your guest talking about, in fact, your guest was very emphatic and he was so straight to the point.
Yes, he is.
Everything he has said is very important. There are some things that if we start doing, the things will work out very well because people are taking advantage of certain things, like the POS, to do a lot of maneuvering.
Exactly. But at the same time, he mentioned something very critical. He said, for as much as the government wants to regulate the transaction that happens between the point of sale, giving a face to the point of sale, we should remember that it creates a lot of jobs in our society. A lot of people are into that business. So there should be a balance, don't you think?
It is very necessary. I think what I was thinking is the federal government should even try something to make this POS thing work. Because I'm not trying to do a sing prison for the POS operators. But their transaction is more seamless than the conventional.
Yes, it is.
Yes. So as it is, a lot of people, I think that's the easiest and the fastest means of employment right now for a lot of people.
Yes, it is. And we're going to still talk more about it later on in the program and see how this particular issue goes with the CBN and, of course, the point of sale entity as a whole. And with that, we have to wrap up the program on Global Morning. And thank you all so much for being a part of the program with us. I am Jumai Manson and my co-host,
Ramsey Enoch Agbo.
Thank you all so much for being here. Bye-bye.